Hey, Jordan O'Connor here, and in this video I'm going to talk about the 11 things you can do to read more, retain more information, and make a whole lot more money. So I have done this out on my Remarkable. I'm going to walk you through step by step. Now you can see a bunch of books in the background. I've probably read over 100 books now, and I've done that in different ways, through physical books, through reading on my Remarkable, a Kindle, listening to audiobooks. And I've tried a lot of different ways to read. I even have a book up there called How to Read a Book, right? So I want to break it down. I really enjoy reading. However, I have fell out of the habit of reading a lot over the past. So I want to talk about the key things that you can do to enjoy reading so you can retain more information and make more money on the back end of that, if that is your goal, okay? Or learn more and get better at the thing, okay? So thing number one is read what you have an interest in or something that you want to learn or improve on. Don't just read a book because someone told you to read a book. Make sure you're actually reading a book on something that interests you. For me, most of the time, that's business, it's personal development, or some sort of sport athletes, okay? Generally, that's what I read. Number two is read 2 books at once. Now, this might be counterintuitive, like why would I read 2 books? But it's really important to read 2 books because then you don't always get sick of one, and then you can read, this is kind of point number 3, but you want to read one in the morning and one at night. So generally what I like to do in the morning, I like to have a business book or a book that's more stuff that I can implement or I really want to learn, okay? Because your mind is kind of fresh in the morning, then you can go and implement that throughout the day. So if this is like personal development, if it's a business book on marketing or copywriting or something like that, right? So generally in the morning, I read some sort of business or education. Then I like to read something much easier, an autobiography, a book about, more storytelling or something like that, right? So I have different books up there. Right now I'm reading Henry Ford's autobiography. The last one I was reading in the evening was Andre Agassi, a tennis player, his autobiography. So generally I like to read those types of books in the evening. Okay, so that's thing number 3. Thing number 4 is buy a Kindle. I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. So yes, I did read books on my Remarkable here, but it's not ideal because it's a little bit bigger, okay? I highly recommend buying a Kindle. So I bought one about 2 months ago now. It was during Christmas time, and I was traveling, and I didn't want to bring a bunch of books with me. So I brought one book, which was Traction. I read it in the space of like a week, and I was like, damn, I need more books. So then I just went out and bought a Kindle, and it's so good. It has so many benefits. Some of these might sound ridiculous, but they're just so good. Like, some of the benefits of having a Kindle is, number 1, you don't have to have like a lamp on, right? So in your room, you can just like read it without a lamp, no matter what. You can just like, read the Kindle. The Remarkable, actually, it doesn't have that. This version, it doesn't even have a light on it. So that's probably thing number 1. Thing number 2 is you can just bring it anywhere with you. Like, you can fit it in your pocket. You can bring it anywhere with you, compared to like a book. You can kind of only bring it with you as long as you have like a backpack or a laptop bag with you, right? So your Kindle, you can just bring it anywhere. Another thing is, if you have a partner, like, it doesn't make, like, when I was flicking through pages, if I was reading a physical book, I'd have to have the lamp on, and it makes a bunch of noise, right? Because like, you're flicking through pages, you're highlighting stuff with the Kindle, it like doesn't make any noise at all. And it's better for highlighting, because when you highlight stuff, it then saves to your phone or to your Kindle app, where you can go back and look at the highlights at any point of time. And if you're unsure on a word, which a lot of time I'm like not the fastest reader, if you're unsure on a certain word, you just hold it, Kindle will like explain what that word is, right? Especially like books that were written a long time ago, like over 100 years ago, they use kind of different English, some different words. Like, that's the way it is in the Henry Ford, like the Henry Ford book. Like, some of the words are a little bit different, so I have to like, how are they using this word? So that's thing number 4, and that is probably the biggest one. If you buy a Kindle, like, you're gonna read so much more. Right now, like, it's, I'm like 2 months into this year, and I've like read 4 books. So yeah, even more now. I'm like 25% through another 2. The next thing is highlight what resonates with you. So just be interactive with the book, like just engage with it. So like I said, if this is a Kindle, make sure you highlight things, you can go back and look at it. And then if this is a physical book, just like go onto Amazon, buy a bunch of different highlighters and just like, you know, have them inside your book or whatever, and then just highlight stuff, because then when you go back, you can look at the highlight stuff, which I do quite often. Next is, if a book is hard to read and you're not interested in it, give it like a week and then just move on to the next book. Okay, there's no rule to say that you have to finish a book, right? And even some of the popular books are super hard to read. One book that I've not read that's like one of the OG best books out there that people say is like 48 Laws of Power, right? I just can't get into that book, so I've never read it. There's been some other ones. There's another one called Power versus Force, which is a lot about spirituality and a lot of like different energy levels and stuff like that. That book is so hard to read, but I did read it. And some of the older books are generally harder to read. But if you give it like a week and you can't get into it, you can try and jump around to different chapters and just try and skip a few chapters and see. But after a week, just drop it, because what's happened to me in the past is I was reading a bad book that I had no interest in, and then it takes me months to finish that book, compared to, you know, right now I'm kind of reading like an hour a day, maybe more. But if you have a bad book, you have no interest in picking up that book, and then you won't get through it, and then it will stop your habit of reading. Okay, so if you get a bad one, just skip it, on to the next. Next is, you can listen and read at the same time. Now this is good. I've done this for a long time, where I listened to the audiobook and I read the book. And this is really good if you're a slow reader, because you can control the speed of the audiobook. But I just found like it was a little too much resistance. You know, in the morning, I don't really want to be on my phone. So I don't want to have to like go onto my phone. You might see notifications or whatever. So that's like probably the reason why I stopped doing that. Plus, for some people, you obviously have to buy both of them. So you have to buy the physical book or the Kindle, then you have to buy the audiobook as well. So it is more expensive as well, but I recommend trying it. It is good sometimes, like if you're flying or if you're somewhere that's a bit noisy, it can be good to do it. But I've done it like for a few books, but I don't do it anymore. But it is something worth trying, because it could help you read a lot more, because you're listening and you're reading it, right? What I found is sometimes you can get lost on the page. It's very easy for your eyes not to follow because you're listening to it, right? But give it a try anyways. And then you can also listen to, like, if I'm flying as well, if it's like super loud on the plane, sometimes I'll put in my Apple like headphones and then I'll just listen to like reading music. I have it like downloaded on my YouTube, or just some sort of like lo-fi beats, and then read to that, right? Next is, share the book you're reading to your friends so you can learn more about it and then teach the lessons that you've learned. So I've started to do this a whole lot more. In the past, I generally just read a book and then I would like mention it to people if I'm out and about, but obviously this entrepreneur game, like most of your friends in the game are probably online. So, you know, I mainly just read the book, but I didn't share it too much with my friends. But now what we do is, like, when I'm reading a book and if I get into the book and it's really good, I'll like recommend it to everyone, right? So the last book that I read or the last few books, like Traction was one, like the EOS system. So I referred that to a bunch of my friends, and so many of them have read it. And then the benefits of that then is we can kind of like mastermind on it, or we can chat about like what we actually learned in that book, or like what are our biggest takeaways, because everyone has different takeaways. So that's one example. Another one, I just listened to Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Absolutely crazy book. It's so good. So I listened to that because of the format of the book. I listened to it, but I also shared that with multiple friends, and then we kind of went back and forth on what we learned from it. And I'm currently doing this now with Buy Back Your Time from Dan Martell. I've actually read this before. I'm rereading this again. And a couple of my friends were kind of like going back and forth on like the stuff that we need to implement from that book. So then point number 9 is, some books are made to be listened to. Like I just mentioned with Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. So there's certain books that I will always listen to. For example, if it's like a autobiography or a book that the author is reading, then I'll more than likely listen to it. So I'll give you some examples. 50 Cent has a book. I can't think of the name of it, but 50 Cent done his like, it's not an autobiography. He's kind of talking about different things and different lessons in it, but I listened to that because it's 50 Cent, right? All of David Goggins' books, I've listened to them. because he has a different format where someone will read the book and then Goggins will explain it, right? So I will listen to like a book like that from Goggins, and then also, like I said, Outwitting the Devil, because the format where Napoleon Hill is basically having this conversation with the devil, right? Sounds crazy. Listen to it, so good. So, like I said, I will listen to certain books, but most of the time, I will read. I only listen to probably like 10% of the audiobooks. And then if I have a lot of travel or I'm like driving long distances, I'll just listen to an audiobook, right? Pretty simple stuff. But there is certain books that are definitely better to listen to compared to read. Point number 10 is reread books that have had the biggest impact. So like I just mentioned, I'm rereading Buy Back Your Time because it had such a big shift for me from where I was at in business, and then it just made me hire more people and just outsource more tasks. Some other books I've reread is, oh damn, my mind is going blank now. Obviously Think and Grow Rich, Psycho Cybernetics. I've reread that as well. And there's a couple of other ones. I can't think of them, but yeah, those are kind of the main ones. Influence is another good marketing one that I've read again. I used to reread some more like copywriting books, but I'm not really doing that much anymore. So I'm not rereading that as much. So that is point number 10, reread books that have had the biggest impact, which is really important. Another one that I've read a couple of times is The E-Myth. Is a really good book, especially if you're like starting out. So I read that a lot when I started out. Another one, I'm just looking at my bookshelf there, is How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. I've read that a couple of times. And sometimes you like read a book and you won't finish it because you might get another book. That was like my problem. I used to just constantly order books, and every time I'd get another book, I want to read more. So make sure you finish your book and then get the next one. And then point number 11, if something doesn't interest you in the book, just skip it and move on to the next chapter or the next paragraph. So an example of this is like sometimes when you're reading autobiographies, there's sections in them that it doesn't resonate with you. For example, when I was reading the book about O'Leary, the guy that kind of started Ryanair, there's a chapter in the book that's just talking about politics. And I found this a common theme for like a lot of billionaire biographies. Normally there's some point where they're talking about like politics or certain stuff. Where like where I'm at right now in my life, like I have no interest in politics whatsoever. Like literally zero. So I just skip that. Like if I know I'll read it for like a couple of minutes. I'm like, okay, now I'll brief through the next few pages. If this is like all on a topic that I'm not interested on, I'll just skip it and move on to the next chapter. So this happens quite some time. It happened, and like, or if you're just not into it, or it's like you're not vibing with it, just move on, right? And then you can go back to like the table of contents and you can figure out, okay, like, is this for the rest of the book? If so, I should probably just like skip this book, and then you can kind of like figure out where what you want to read. Now, I'd say 90% of the time I will read the book all the way through. Sometimes if it's just something that I already know or it's not relevant anymore, I'll kind of skip through it, because some books can be outdated as well. There's a book I have on branding, and I don't know why I read it, to be fair, but I think it's called like the 27 Laws of Branding or something like that. But it actually talks about how Amazon have made a mistake by pivoting from books to sell everything. It's really interesting. So like obviously that is just like completely outdated. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna listen to this book, right? And then, so they're the 11 points. And then the last thing I'd say is just make sure you make it a habit and then become aware of what you enjoy reading. Like there's certain books that I just couldn't put down. And generally it's books that are like more biographies and like more books that are telling stories. So like for these books, just become aware of what interests you and what you're engaged in, what you want to keep picking it up and read. And if you're not like looking forward to reading the book, just move on to your next one. So to recap, number 1, read what you have an interest in. Number 2, read 2 books at a time. Number 3, read as soon as you wake up and before you go to bed. Number 4, buy a Kindle. Number 5, highlight what resonates with you. Number 6, if a book is hard to read, move on to the next one. Number 7, you can listen and read at the same time. Number 8, share the book that you're reading with friends so you can learn more. Number 9, some books are meant to be listened to. Number 10, reread books that have had the biggest impact. And number 11, if something doesn't interest you in the book, skip the paragraph or skip the chapter. Okay. If you found this video insightful, please do let me know. I'm figuring out what to post on this YouTube channel, and there's a bunch of different books that I can dive into, best biographies, the books that have had the biggest impact on me. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. There's not too many people that listen here, but you know, I'm in this for the long run. So let me know and I can definitely make more videos on this. Thank you for listening. Appreciate if you like this video, subscribe, and have an amazing day. Cheers.